This place has been rightly called the jewel of the Cairngorms, Loch Elan, a loch with an island castle, surrounded by a natural fragment of the old Caledonian pine forests of Scotland, in a country where the forest gives way to the heather and the heather to the high tundra, the only piece of the Arctic in Scotland. In fact, it's an escape almost from the best of Scandinavia. And here was the last nesting place of the osprey in Scotland, that wonderful fish-hunting, eagle-like bird. Now, that bird became extinct when I became interested in wildlife. It was a distant memory. And then suddenly in 1950, I was hearing stories of ospreys being seen. And then I got a phone call in 1958 from George Watterson, a great friend of mine. George said, "Tom, I've got a secret for you. Could you come up here for a week? And I'm not going to tell you where until you tell me if you can come. But there's something I know you wouldn't want to miss." I said, "I'll come, George." And he gave me a password, told me to make my way to Loch Garten, and I would find something there. My directions led me to a croft and a camp which this remarkable lady kept supplied with milk, eggs and potatoes, vital to 6 secret watchers. Well, it's no wonder that you're commemorated in this book. I expect you know it as well as I do.
Oh, yes, I got one. Mm-hmm.
And you get a present of one, the Scottish Ospreys from Extinction to Survival.
That's right.
And the interesting thing is that it's dedicated to you, and it's got pictures in it by me, taken at that very visit in 1958.
Well, it's wonderful that too, isn't it?
And here's this dedication. This book is dedicated in affection and high regard to Miss Isabel MacDonald of Innsdryan, a remarkable lady who fostered mothers scores of lucky children and yet still found time to welcome so many of us who watched over the ospreys. You did it with apparently inexhaustible kindness and a quiet encouragement that gave many of us renewed faith, strength and enthusiasm when the fates were conspiring against us.
That's right.
This is Loch Garten. It's really 700 feet above sea level and in more lowland country than the high Cairngorms, but it's distinguished by one of the finest pieces of semi-natural woodland in Scotland, partly moorland with bogs which are ideal for the kind of birds that breed in the heights of Scandinavia, with rarities like the crossbill, the crested tit, the capercaillie. And in here today is something very special because the 1 millionth visitor will be coming here to see the osprey. And the reason for my visit is to meet that visitor. Excuse me, could I have a word with you, please? Because you're a very special person today, because you are the millionth visitor to the Osprey Island.
Yeah.
Isn't that,
Yes, it's something.
that a surprise for you?
Yes.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Braley.
Braley.
Yes.
Mrs. Braley?
Mrs. Braley.
Where
yes.
from, Mrs. Braley?
St. Neots in, well, it's Cambridgeshire now. It used to be Huntingdonshire.
Well, there we are.
Oh,
now, this is with the compliment of Osprey
wonderful.
Electronics Wick. And there it's an osprey with a fish. Frank Hamilton is the Scottish director of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. I wonder how he sees it all after these first uncertain years.
I think at times when we were looking into our malt whisky, we would sometimes dream of that. But I don't think it would actually happen. And I think it's one of the great success stories of the Ospreys. Not only has it happened, that there are these wonderful creatures flying around that everybody can see here at Loch Garten, but in actual fact it's fired people's imagination because it's a nice simple story. It's not talking about ecology and all this sort of... It's a simple story that some nasty people came up and took their eggs and people protected them, and then they've got more and more have bred and been successful. And I think that's terrific.
Okay. Roy Dennis is the Highland officer of the RSPB, and his main job is to combat those who rob the nests of rare birds. Roy has to be one step ahead of the collectors, and he has to know the position of all the breeding pairs of ospreys in the vast area of the Highlands.
Yeah, we've kept a very close watch from those early days, and this year there must be about 30 pairs. We had hoped for a few more, because last year we had 30 pairs with 45 young.
45 young?
Yes, best year for probably 200 or 300 years actually in Scotland. But this year, rather a cold spring, very windy, and a few pairs just have not turned up. So we're about 30 pairs.
And one of the basic problems for you are the people who want to rob the nests, is that right?
Yeah, that's the sad thing about Britain. My friends in America who work on ospreys can't understand that we still have eggs taken. They don't have that problem at all. But yeah, that's the sad part of the spring. The best part is going into the mountains, looking at eagles and peregrines and doing our monitoring work on them and the ospreys.
There's a thing that's always worried me a wee bit about the osprey. It's a migrant bird, unlike the golden eagle. And it goes to Africa, is that right?
That's right, and it has a very hard migration. It's got to go out of Britain, across the Channel, down over the Bay of Biscay, through Spain and Portugal, where they've always been very trigger happy. And then still there's that big drag right across the Sahara. And so the osprey has a long run before it gets to its winter quarters in Gambia, Senegal and Mauritania is where I've had the birds recovered from, and then the haul back.
So it's all the more remarkable then that this osprey success story is such a success when you think of all the factors against it.
Especially in those early days when we just had this one pair, and we realise now the most important thing is to have nests which are steady year after year, because this is a sort of meeting place for ospreys and they can meet their future mates here.
So that's Loughgarten, wonderfully peaceful spot. It's got this natural beauty of forest, moorland, snow patches in the hill, but how much more exciting when suddenly from over the trees comes that great fish eagle. That's why ospreys have to be protected, because it does something to the spirit that scenery alone can't produce.